Hey there, happy Monday morning. I'm in a very well lit part of the house and kind of gives me this smoky, foggy look. Uh, we're going to go with it. I'm not going to move it. I usually do it in another section of the house that is not as bright, but whatever. We'll deal with it, right? It's Monday. I didn't make a video last week. We were on spring break, so took the week off from posting. So I'm going to post a couple more this week. If you follow my Instagram account, the Paleo Counselor, that's the trademark name that I work under. My business is Shannon Myers Consulting, however, and there's going to be some announcements coming up as to what my business is doing. But for now, we're going to stick with what works. I transitioned over to using YouTube just so I can make this content more public. I have been doing videos for years um, on Facebook and in Facebook groups and in public presentations. I've been presenting my entire career, and so I'm just bringing the content just more public. It's things that I've been doing my entire career and been talking about. I just haven't been creating content, but this year is all about content creation, research, spreading the good news that healing is possible in the different ways that we can heal. So, talking a little bit about Monday, how to start our week off right with mindset. Knowing that mindset is a huge component. It's more than just happy thoughts and positive thinking. As a counselor, I actually really dislike this concept of positive thoughts. When you think about mental wellness, it's more than just thinking positively. There's a lot of things that need to come together for things to line up in our life, and mindset is something that we need to work on, just like we work on, our physical health, working on our mental health, and that can be done as a self healer, working, through self help books, journaling, meditation, yoga, just learning about your thoughts and beliefs and patterns, or it can be done in partnership with a professional, a coach. Uh, a doctor, a therapist. There's a lot of different roads to Rome, and even mentoring. In your career, when you look at the mindset for the career, it life can throw a lot of hiccups and punches, and there can be a lot of peaks and valleys. And I think it's the low points which really makes us really reflect on what does it all mean. How can I grow from this? And then personal development really comes from that place of um, being down and out. I posted about that today on Instagram. I'm trying to put more content out there. Instagram's kind of hard because you have to do it on your phone, and it's not. I like being really efficient, and so it's like the least efficient social media app like known to man. So I posted, life is like photography. You need the negatives to develop, and it is so true. It's not. Life is, I think, in our Western culture, we try to focus on the positive and we try to focus on all the highs. Like social media is a highlight reel of what we put out there. And that's not real life. And that's not balanced either. If someone came to me like that all the time as a counselor, I'd be like, these are manic characteristics, right? Our culture is supporting mania, like hysteria, mania, and insanity. Our culture is propping people up to support that, and that's not balance. And then other aisle of the spectrum is the low points, the hard things, the grit, the when we lose a job, when we go through a divorce, when we have a health problem, mental or physically, show manifest and show itself. When we haven't been taking care of ourselves, when a child is sick, when a loved one passes away, these are the moments of hardship that we all go through at one time and another. There's 1 in 4 Americans have right now a mental health condition, and 100% of Americans will go through a hard time, whether it be stress, whether it be a period of anxiety or depression. I'm one where I'm very flexible with the terminology that I use. If someone truly believes that they have a mental health condition, then I'm going to go there. For me, I know that that is a symptom of something going on more at the root level, and I try to work to get to that root level of what is that, why is that health condition manifesting now, why is the time right for it now. This lighting is really terrible. It's like going in and out. Sorry, I apologize. I need to get a professional film crew over here. So why is it going on right now? And trying to dig into that. And it's the periods of when we think we can't go on any further. That's what life is made up of. And that is where we show ourselves what we're truly made of. And once you go through that and keep going through it, on the other side of facing your fears is true freedom. And I think that's one message that isn't really given in our society. We are given prescriptions and food and social media to distract and numb ourselves from actually dealing with what is going on, processing through it, feeling our feelings. Yeah, our society and culture doesn't really honor that. It's always about the grind. It's always about the hustle. And go, go, go. That's the definition of insanity to me. Feel your feelings, process through them. There is no time limit. There's no limit on anything for how long something takes. A lot of times people ask me, how long is this going to take? It takes as long as it takes. And I will tell you that if you bottle things up and try to put them on a shelf and lock them away, they don't stay locked away forever. It'll come out later on in life when it will surprise you, and you may not be able to recognize why that's occurring at that moment in time. And so on the other side, on our culture, like I say, is the low points. And so life is this ebb and flow. If you look at a wave in the water, it rises and falls, and it just continues to work like that. We're a lot like that as human beings. And the more that you can integrate symptoms or experiences into more of a balanced center point rather than utter hysteria and this is the happiest day of my life. You can't stay that high for a long time. It's not healthy. I'm getting a phone call here as I take this. Um, we're going to use that. And the low points where I feel like I can't go through this anymore. I cannot, I can't last another minute. These moments are when we need to really get into our breathing. My friend just sent me this necklace, Luna and Jade. Look her up, Andy. It's breathe in and breathe out. I love it. I'm going to put a post about this. One of our Buddhist teachers, one of the great, I cannot say his name, and I am sorry, and that shows my Western civilization and culture. He says that the only time that we're really alive is in the present. The past is a memory, and the future hasn't been created yet. And so when we go through moments and people are having thoughts, um, as a counselor, the thoughts are just kind of nonsense. They're like emails that you get that are junk mail, and they come to you and you want to hit unsubscribe, and you can do that from your thoughts. They're like junk emails that come to you that says 50% off, this last place that you shopped at that they forced you to give you your email address. And then they come up and it's like, what is this? Why is this coming up right now? You can unsubscribe from those thoughts through retraining your brain. And I do work with a lot of people to retrain their brain. I've retrained mine. And you can think differently and show up in the world differently. And your thoughts are not yours. They are just nonsense junk email that you don't know how you subscribe to, but you can hit unsubscribe by different tools, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. You can do self CBT. Acceptance and commitment therapy is kind of like radical self acceptance and self love and unconditional positive regard. Mindfulness, which our Western culture has kind of given mindfulness a really bad name. Mindfulness is just being in the present moment and truly being here. So setting your phone down, not numbing ourselves, but just kind of feeling our feelings and then going back to the breath. This is something that meditation and yoga really does help with. Too, I'm a big proponent of that because it's a tool that's been around since the beginning of time and it works. And I practice what I preach, and I do these things every single day, and they're game changers. So, in addition to mindset, I also want to talk about the placebo effect. I put a post on LinkedIn about the placebo effect, and over the years, medical community has kind of poo-pooed the placebo effect, making people feel bad for believing in something and then it works. That's human nature and how we have evolved since the beginning of time. There's actually a genetic component, so there are individuals that are more likely to be impacted by the placebo effect. And to me, the placebo effect as a researcher and a counselor, it just means hope that a lot of people, individuals in humanity wants hope that's something that they try will work. They've heard the stories of it working in other. They believe that they can heal. They believe that their life is worth more. And they're going to believe that this thing that they're doing, this intervention, this technology, this treatment, this tool, they believe that that works. That's a good thing. That's something that you can use. And hope is healing, just to be able to think, this is hard right now, but I believe that this next thing that I'm going to do is the thing. I've read stories about it. I believe in it. I understand this. This is going to work. Your mind, if your mind is behind it, so is your limbic system, which kind of controls all of the breathing and bodily processes in your body. Then that gets behind it and that opens up an environment so that actually does work. So it's not just a placebo effect, but there is some systematic bodily processes that work behind that. Whereas if someone is very resistant and scared and fearful, that switches on that fight or fight response and puts someone in a heightened state where their body is shutting down and they're only focused on survival mode. Their breath gets higher up in the body and they are only focusing on rapid, shallow breathing. And if someone can get stuck there, then it's going to show itself in a lot of different ways. It can be anxiety, depression, it can be OCD, it can be chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, so many autoimmune conditions, dizziness. A lot of things can be explained by this. And so I posted about that because I'm not, my goal isn't to make a lot of friends. My goal is to put out information that people need for healing and to understand that there's another way, and to understand some of the softer sciences behind things. And then in addition to, there's a hard fact of there's a genetic component. Um, behind that. And I forget what that is. I want to say it's about, I'm not going to say the number because I'm not for sure. So I did at one point know what that is, but I have so many statistics in my head that like one number comes in, another comes out, and eventually it's just going to be some random fact. And then I forget like my social security number or my phone number or something. So there's only so much your brain can hold. Um, so that is the other item for this video. And hope is the last thing that I wanted to talk about today. One of my colleagues at the Harkin Institute is like the Brene Brown of hope. And um, there is something behind it that can radically change your health, and to have something that you're holding on to as far as wanting to heal. To me, it really means meaning and understanding that even when something is really hard, that it's just a temporary experience. Everything does get better. Sometimes the only way out of an experience is through it, and to really process through your feelings, feel your feelings, whether it's grief, anger, sadness, depression, all of these things are just symptoms. And to understand that you are experiencing these symptoms or um, feelings and those are temporary doesn't mean it's you. Just because you're angry doesn't mean you are an angry person or you are bad. You are experiencing anger, and to look at that and to integrate the anger. You can integrate the light with the dark within you, and all of these feelings are lessons. And so when you start looking at in more depth into what you're experiencing and start asking some harder questions, you start to learn a lot more about yourself. and why you are the way that you are. And that insight becomes a very powerful tool. You are the expert in yourself. And this is why I don't work as a practicing counselor, but I heal in other ways. If you think about it, if you visit your doctor every 3 months, 4 times a year, you're with your doctor for 7 minutes. That's 28 minutes that you're with a healthcare professional. And if you put all of your hope into this person that knows you for 28 minutes per year, you are doing yourself a disservice. You're with yourself 24/7. You know yourself the best. Partner with yourself. And obviously, you can partner with medical practitioners when you get stuck. And that's kind of where we're more effective. But start to lean into your own experience and who you are as a person. And that, once you lean into fear and look it in the face and just sit with it, it releases its grip and it releases its hold on you. And with that, I can't think of a more empowering experience other than proving yourself wrong. The things we fear 99.9% of the time never happen. Um, they don't really tell us anything about ourselves, just that we have an emotion. And if you think about it, I say that a lot. If you think about it, going back to prehistoric times, humans evolved for fear to be a feeling that keeps us safe when we lived in tribes and wild animals were chasing after us, and we had to hunt and gather for our food. This is a genetic component that has kind of been programmed into us. And so our subconscious is constantly scanning the environment. Subconscious means you don't know that you're doing that, to look for things. You're always unaware. Like you're always searching for that thing that's going to hurt you or to be fearful of. And we do this subconsciously, and it takes conscious mindful practice to unprogram that part of our brain and to unsubscribe from those thoughts and feelings. And it's a practice, and there's not a pill for that. And no one's going to do this work for you but yourself. But if you do the work and you lean into it, on the other side of that fear is true freedom, because you realize the things that you were fearful of were just nonsense, unsubscribable thoughts and feelings, and that you were doing the best that you could at the time and trying to keep yourself safe, which is a good thing. But now that you have the tools, you don't need that anymore. And then you can move on with your life. And that is probably the greatest lesson that we can prove to ourselves, proving ourselves wrong, failing, leaning into fear, and realizing that we are way more than our thoughts and feelings and fears. And there is a lot of hope. And even if the placebo effect works, it works. Who cares? I mean, who cares? And I really think that the medical community has done a disservice to individuals by making them feel bad for uh, experiencing the human condition, and that has been with us since the beginning of time. And this hopefully is giving individuals some validation to their experience and to lean in and investigate yourselves a little bit more deeply and to continue on in your personal development journey here on Earth. That's kind of what we're here for, and to lean into it and to embrace it and to kick it in the face sometimes, step aside, say thank you, no thanks. What is the song? Thank You Next. Somebody posted about that, about like having nonsense thoughts, and they just thought that the song Thank You Next was just like the perfect response. And so that, hopefully that song is in your head the rest of the day when you have thoughts that come to you. You're like, where did this come from? It comes from nowhere. It's nonsense. Unsubscribe. Okay, I'm going to leave this here. I hope these videos are helpful. I like to be able to share this with individuals. I think that there is a lot of opportunity to use social media for the good, and I've always been a fan of that. Although it's kind of a hodgepodge of just kind of a mess of a highlight reel, and people start comparing themselves to the best day and with a filter that someone's using, and that's not real life. And I'm here to tell you, it's not real life. Real life is a real mess sometimes, and that's really okay. Feel your feelings. There's always another way. Embrace the placebo effect if you're genetically predisposed to that, and lean into fear. Those are my main messages today. Okay, guys, have a good one. I'm going to post this.